I don't hate Tottenham fans. Of course I don't hate Tottenham fans. I grew up around them. You choose your football club. It doesn't make you a different person. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel. And let's be honest, it is a tough day to be an Arsenal fan. I think we're all coming to terms with the fact that on Sunday we are not going to win the Premier League for the first time in 20 years. It will be a disappointment that we end such a good season where we've broken our record for winning the number of games that we have, for scoring the number of goals that we have, and still couldn't get past a Manchester City who, I think you have to accept, they are the best team the Premier League, in fact the First Division, has ever seen. If they go on Sunday to beat West Ham at home, they will lift their fourth Premier League title in a row. It's never been done before, and given that they lost some key players in summer, I think you have to say, when it comes to it, there has never been a team with a better mentality for winning than the one that Pep Guardiola put together. And I've always said that the team that wins the league, played 38 games, accumulated the most points, is without question the best team that season. And so, hats off to Manchester City. Provided they go on and do it, you are the best team in England at the moment. And I don't think there's so much shame in coming second to you. But today has been a tough day, like I said, and I think we've all had to come to terms with the disappointment. And although there's one game left, and I have been saying, don't give up until it's mathematically impossible, I think it's reasonable now for us to accept our fate. Could be another 89-style last gasp winner. These things do happen in the Premier League, but no one's counting on it. And that doesn't leave me bereft. I've spent my day, to cheer myself up, dropping in on various Spurs Facebook pages and websites and enjoying a bit of banter with them. Look, everyone's got to have a hobby, right? Some people are fascinated by ancient history, others study insects. I've kind of brought mine together and I like observing Tottenham fans. Look, joking aside, I do want to say this dehumanisation of Spurs fans, making out that they're somehow different or evil from us, it's not the case and it has to stop, right? Tottenham fans, I grew up around Tottenham fans. Some of my family are Tottenham fans. I've got an uncle who's a Tottenham fan, and one of my best friends, who sadly no longer with us, was a Tottenham fan, and we always enjoyed healthy banter. This outpouring from Spurs fans that want to sacrifice their own Champions League place, or any chance they had of it, in order to see us fail, might just be crossing the line a little bit. And what I really want to talk about is Ange Postecoglou's post-match press conference, because it's clear that, well, during the match he was arguing with Tottenham fans, and I don't remember ever seeing anything like that. Watching a couple of the Spurs fans try and do the Poznan, you can't even come up with your own celebrations. There's just this copium, I think is the common term for it now. It's this idea that, look, after 63 years of abject misery, failure, and watching us win everything except in Europe, they have to find something to celebrate. I've taken a lot of messages from Tottenham fans today, very unpleasant messages if I'm honest, saying that, I should cry and keep crying. I'm not crying. And if I was going to be crying, I certainly wouldn't do it in front of Tottenham fans. How can I cry about finishing second when you can't even finish fourth? It would be a really heartless thing to do, to cry about how badly we've done to a team that's done so much worse than us. Next season, when you hear that Champions League music at the Emirates, you're not going to hear it at Spurs. The players who you might have been able to sign because they want to play in the Champions League won't come to Spurs. And the money that you could have got, before I go on and say that the money you got from the Champions League would help you buy players, it's clear that your ownership doesn't really do that. But is Ange Postecoglou right to be so angry? And what's he really talking about when he says the foundations of the club are fragile? Because that's what he said. He came out and said that. And I remember thinking, isn't it frustrating when somebody comes out in a press conference and only half says what they mean? Who is he blaming? Is he blaming Daniel Levy? Was this another Conte-esque outburst against Daniel Levy? And when Conte had that outburst, it still took him 2 weeks to sack him. Is Ange Postecoglou considering his options? He did say in the press conference, he's got to reevaluate what he does. But it felt like he was going to stay. It felt like he wasn't leaving. But it must be deeply disheartening for any professional sportsman or manager or anybody involved in a competitive industry where your whole reason for being is to succeed, only to know that the people that's supposed to be your 12th man and cheer you on aren't giving you that. that they would rather see you fail if it means that your nearest rivals can fail as well. And I keep saying nearest rivals. I am purely talking geographically here, because I think my main point at the moment is that this might be the last time that Spurs are relevant. Amongst the things that Spurs fans have been saying today is how they stopped us winning the league. You didn't. You lost to City. City have recorded 27 victories so far this season. Will likely record 28. You're just one of those. I mean, you did take a point off them at the Etihad. If you really wanted to stop Arsenal winning the league, you could have beaten us. The fact that you lost to City is not really that surprising. You've also lost to Chelsea, Newcastle, us. You've also lost to Liverpool. In fact, you only just narrowly beat Burnley. Ange Postecoglou's start was really bright. He was voted as Manager of the Year, Evening Standard Awards. That was premature. If you looked at the first 10 games Spurs played this season, you were top of the table. But in the 27 since then, I think if you added it up, you actually finished 11th. There is a rebuild going on. There is a project going on. There is a process going on. I really like Ange Postecoglou. I think that the team that he set up last night to play Manchester City was actually better than I expected. I thought Mickey van der Ven at left back was a really good choice, and Dragusin finally playing. I thought that most of that game it looked really close, and it could have gone. It could have gone to a draw if Heung-min Son clear on goal. Now, I want to say absolutely and categorically, I don't think he missed on purpose. And I think anyone who does think he missed on purpose is missing some facts. People do miss clean through on goal. Sometimes you have too much time to think about it. Perhaps the atmosphere in the stadium contributed to hesitancy. But this is a great player who has a hatful of goals this season. And if he really wanted to miss, he could have skied it. He could have put it anywhere else. I think it was a great save by Ortega. I think if Heung-min Son hadn't wanted to score, he wouldn't have run onto the ball in the first place. Let's be clear. There's Tottenham fans on the one hand that are not covering themselves in glory at all, acting the way they are. This is not how football fans act. Yes, you can want to see us do badly, but you don't sacrifice your own team. Liverpool didn't do it in 95, but Man United didn't do it on Sunday either. They don't like Man City. I mean, I think Liverpool are bigger rivals to Man United fans, but they don't like Man City. They don't want to see their nearest neighbours dominating Europe, the world. But against us on Sunday, there weren't Man United fans doing the Poznan when we scored. They weren't talking about how they wanted their club to throw it. This is alien to our football culture. I don't remember this happening before. Man City fans are rightly proud of the team that they have, and I don't think they needed Tottenham Hotspur's fans to support them yesterday. If anything, it almost jinxed them, right? Because it was the one time I've seen Man City play not great, and it was one time they were supported by Spurs fans. Perhaps there's something in this curse after all. Manchester City have won the league on their own merits, and if you want to feel like Tottenham have robbed Arsenal of it, you've played a part. There's no question about it. And I had somebody saying to me, you know, how rubbish we must be to be expecting our rivals to win for us. I wasn't. I at no point expected Tottenham to win yesterday. And not because you wanted to see us fail, but just because Man City were a really good team. I think they were going to beat you if your lives depended on it. And that's okay. There's no huge shame in that. Like I said, I think that the Spurs players and the manager did everything they could to spoil Manchester City's party. But it's just a mammoth task. This element, this hatefulness, this vitriol, it doesn't harm Arsenal fans as much as it harms you yourselves. Because Ange Postecoglou did wake up this morning wondering what the hell he's doing at Spurs. If you can bring success to a group of people who don't seem to want it, who have gone so far through this that they're much more happy seeing other people fail than ever dreaming they might have success. And it's not like they don't dream for success. Every year, there's every new manager that comes into Tottenham and they talk about, oh, this is the chance. You know, I'm loving Big Ange instead. The whole impetus of the early part of the season has turned into, as long as Arsenal don't win, I'm happy. There won't be a trophy for that, for the fact that you played a small part, a 1 in 27 part. I mean, look, but let's be honest. This season, you've given 4 points to Manchester City and 4 points to us. You're basically neutral and irrelevant. You are an irrelevance. As a club, you need to change your outlook if you are ever going to challenge at the top table. Because I would worry about your side if you lose Ange Postecoglou. Because Jose Mourinho tried to warn you, Antonio Conte tried to warn you, and now Postecoglou's coming out and saying it. And what they're saying is there's something wrong with the club. And of course, Spurs fans, you can choose to hear, oh, well, he's talking about Daniel Levy. He pointedly wasn't just talking about Daniel Levy. When asked, he said the fragility of the club was inside and out. Now, I don't know, and we may never know until he writes an autobiography about it, but it sounds to me like there are some players that he had a problem with, that he may have had a problem with a board, but he definitely had a problem with fans because he was arguing with you publicly. That's embarrassing. You've been so happy and delirious in your happiness that we haven't won a league. You've forgotten that you haven't won a league either. People telling me that, how upset I must be today. I am upset. I remember winning leagues and I really enjoyed it. You're just going to have to take my word for it. It's a great feeling. Spurs, in the 20-something years that ENIC have taken over, when they first took over, you were fighting for 5th place. We had the whole lasagna gate. And here we are all these years later and you're 5th. Zero progress, zero momentum. In the same period of time, if you look at it, look where Man City have got themselves. Man City fans, they don't do this. I have a lot of time and love for Man City fans. It really disappoints me how many of them are gloating over Arsenal. Gloat all you like. You are a better side. But be careful while you're at the top because things change. I think most teams whose fans experience success start taking it for granted. And it doesn't last forever. It didn't last forever for the Liverpool team in the 80s. It didn't last forever for the Man United team in the 90s and noughties. It's not going to last forever for Man City either. But actually, I digress because most Man City fans I know, they have a healthy understanding of football. And I just want to say, look, Man City fans, real Man City fans have been there through thin and thick. Real Man City fans have been there through the tough times. And I kind of feel like maybe no one deserves this level of success, but Man City fans definitely have every right to celebrate this. They paid for it for years, never giving up on their team. There was a clip on the TV the other day of Noel Gallagher in 1999 when Man United were winning the treble, and he was at the playoff final between Man City and Gillingham. And then there was that clip of him in the stadium away to Fulham, and you just thought, that's what you get. If you stay true to your team, if you believe the fairy tales can happen, and I dream of the kind of success that Man City are having now. I dream of Arsenal being so indomitable that people call us boring again. We know a little bit of what it's like to be so successful. People go, boring, boring Arsenal. And we're not there to entertain other fans. As a fan of Arsenal, I'm thrilled with this season and hugely disappointed we weren't able to do that a little bit better. But I don't think it's fair to say we choked because we lost at home to Villa. Unai Emery, if you're going to point the finger at a team that stopped us winning the title, Villa took 6 points off us. Fulham took 4 points off us. That's who cost us the league. But really, we're Arsenal fans. We know that if we'd gotten our business done against Aston Villa, if we hadn't gone missing in that game against Fulham, today would feel completely different. It would be in our hands. All the while, we knew that we were relying on first Fulham, then Tottenham, and then finally West Ham. And I haven't given up hope, Hammers, I haven't. But isn't it telling that Fulham fans aren't running around going, hey, we stopped Arsenal winning the title? West Ham fans aren't running around saying that. I know we're not the most popular team in the world. I don't think any team that's been successful for a long period of time or over a long period of time, before you correct me. I know we haven't been the best team in the country for 20 years, but we have been that in my lifetime. And so we don't have a God-given right to be champions. You have to win it and you have to earn it. And when we look back on this season after Sunday, the goal against Newcastle we can be salty about. We still would have only got a point out of that. The handball decision that denied Kai Havertz a goal equaliser at Villa, that's still only a point. Really came down to 2 or 3 games where we played much worse than we should have. And the margin for error in this league, as Manchester City have shown yet again, is practically zero. You have to be at it from start to finish. But to wrap up this video, here's what I really want to say. I don't hate Tottenham fans. Of course I don't hate Tottenham fans. I grew up around them. You choose your football club. It doesn't make you a different person. All this dehumanising of each other, that's terribly dangerous because it leads to further and further polarisation and further hate. I've walked the gauntlet to White Hart Lane and been spat at and shouted at. We're used to it as Arsenal fans. There's no love lost between the two clubs, but we work and live around each other in North London. And I've got plenty of Spurs fans I've got nothing but love for, that I've known since I was small. And they're brilliant people. They just choose a different football club, right? And so there should be no place for hatred. Honestly, I'll never cheer on Spurs. I didn't cheer them on yesterday. I wanted them to win it, but I certainly wasn't wearing a Spurs shirt or kissing a Spurs badge, all the kind of odious things I've seen people do. I wanted them to win. I wanted them to win because it would have been fun to taunt them about it. And so I do understand that Spurs fans were delighted they lost because they couldn't face the years of banter they would have picked up for it. But we've got plenty of banter still to level at them. We have won the league twice at their home ground. It's more than they have. We have won everything in the domestic game that they haven't. We are a team well known around the world. We are a team with a bright future. And they are a team whose best players have all left and gone on to greatness. I mean, just a who's who of world football. Gareth Bale, Sol Campbell, Luka Modric, Berbatov. I mean, there are so many great Klinsmann players. I mean, so many great players. You do have to wonder what is wrong with Tottenham. And you can keep going on about ENIC and saying it's Daniel Levy. But you've had the players. You're well supported. You have one of the best stadiums in the world. Is it time to start looking at yourselves and maybe decide that you cannot get further? You cannot become a winning team unless you give up despite the bilious hatred for us. Because whilst we are your only focus of success, whilst beating us is the only thing that matters to you, and you didn't this season, by the way, you don't even care about finishing above us. You just want to see us do slightly worse than the best team in Premier League history. And I'm sorry to upset you. I'm sorry if it upsets you. I'm not that bothered about the fact that we didn't beat Man City. We're not as good as Man City. I hope next season will be different, but I have that to look forward to. And all you have to look forward to is search for a new manager, endless summer transfers linking you with great players only to end up with second-rate versions of them. Perhaps another really good start to next season, but that's unlikely in my opinion. And then December, where you have a new manager. Look, you've been there before. The only thing that surprises me year on year is that Spurs fans seem to find new hope when the reality is staring you in the face. No progress in 20-something years. In those years, we've won things, you haven't. And right now, be honest. Would you rather your team was where Arsenal's team is or where yours is? After all, as bad as it's been at Arsenal, none of our managers have ever come out and had a go at the fans. None of our managers have ever come out and had a go at the fragility of the club. It's becoming a regular event for you guys. But I'm getting drawn into it again. I want to end this on, extending an olive branch. Tottenham fans, this is football. This isn't a blood feud. You can carry on talking about how we shouldn't be in North London. Amongst all the other banter that I've received today has been the typical repetitive nonsense about how we're nomads. We wandered into North London 110 years ago. We don't belong there. I mean, it's time for some fresh banter, isn't it? I do want to remind you that when we moved our club from Woolwich to North London, and North London is better than Woolwich, I've lived in Woolwich. When we moved, you weren't actually a North London club either. You were in Middlesex. Perhaps it would do you good to find a local club in Middlesex to be angry at. Barnet. Pick Barnet. You can beat Barnet. You can goad Barnet. And you can stop Barnet winning the Premier League. You haven't upset me. And I'm not speaking for all Arsenal fans. Tottenham, you haven't upset me. You've surprised me. You've surprised me because some of your fans have been driven by madness to behaving in a way which is just not, it's not seemly. You're not going to give a shit what I say, and you're going to keep calling me names, and you do that. I'm gonna focus on Arsenal and all the things I'm proud of at the club, and I'm going to wear a little disappointment that we're not Premier League champions, but we're not the only team that isn't Premier League champions. You get one champion every season. The last 6 years has been the same team except for Liverpool, and the levels are high. Hopefully, Pep Guardiola replaces Gareth Southgate in summer and somebody comes into Man City who can't sustain this juggernaut. And look, Spurs fans, if you're going to laugh at us for not being successful, get a mirror. Come on, have a look. You calling us unsuccessful? Anyway, let me know in the comments how you feel. Hopefully we can all reflect for a little while and share some sympathy with Tottenham fans for what must have driven them to this level of never before seen shamelessness. Until I see you again, be lucky. Lots of love. Even some of you Spurs fans.